So the Arknights Endfield situation have been situationing. Hey, Arknights Endfield's biggest industry plant here. And today I'm going over why I'm going to continue Arknights Endfield in the foreseeable future and a slight rant about the gacha community in the end. Getting into topic, do I have issues with the game? Yes, I do. In particular, the story. Valley 4 lacking proper character development and character depth. Gilberta's companion quest being poorly executed, as in the connection you have with her feels more like a whiplash rather than being realistic. Tutorials that bog down the experience because it explains literally everything to you rather than letting the player actually learn the mechanics. And then, we also have Wang Fangyi being an obvious waifu bait character that really should have been written better. She quite literally drags you on a date. And last but not least, quest markers that doesn't even trust the player to navigate through the goddamn story. Chuchu aso. Now with my main problems of the game out of the way, I will now explain what I actually liked about the game and why I am staying. Arknights Endfield feels more like a game than a gacha. Yes, the gacha mechanics of a gacha game is important, but I don't actually have an issue with the system itself apart from the future concern of pull economy. As of right now, you should have been able to get 2 limited characters with the amount of pulls they have given you, but we don't know what it would look like in the future, and I can only hope for it to being better. Which is why I actively mention it on the surveys I send out to Hypergriff. So to talk about the gacha system in a bit, in summary, the system is all about pulling for the guarantee. If you don't like this idea, that is totally okay, as this is a preference after all. Some people simply don't like the idea of only pulling for the guarantee. But I want to make this part very clear. This gacha system isn't worse than a lot of other gacha games, unless you're talking about Limbus Company where you can mostly skip the gacha. In terms of the free 10 pulls they give you after your 30th pull that doesn't contribute to pity, and the free 10 pull you get in the next banner after your 60th, those are just extra arsenal tickets. I am someone who keeps getting the rate up characters earlier than the 60th pull, so I'm speaking from experience when I say it's literally just not worth going for. 30 more pulls and then I can get this one, the I can't speak in English. Head hunting dossier. Let's do this. I only need to do 90 more pulls. Okay. Oh! Let's go! Let's go! Unless you have already gotten to that point before you get the character. You already had arsenal tickets from the standard banner that you can add alongside the ones you get while pulling for the character. So this means you should be able to guarantee the signature weapon for the operator you wanted to go for. Anyways, let's see what we get. I'm big up, holy shit! Yo, I'm the biggest hyper grifter, bro. I'ma be hyper grifting this shit right now, bro. Now you can also make the point of adding more standard pulls, which is totally valid by the way. But apart from that though, also, the weapon banner has a 4% chance of getting a 6-star, which means you'll be able to get a viable stat stick at worst, and the signature weapon pretty early on at best. But I mean, you're pulling for the guarantee, so you should be able to get the weapon regardless. As someone who got too lucky to get 2 limited characters pretty early on, way before the 60th pull by the way, I could have gotten both Gilberta and Lavatane's weapon if I really wanted to. But I wanted to use the Battle Pass weapon for Lavatane, so I did not get hers. So no, the game wasn't after me for being too lucky, I am only being given more options. Speaking of which, the Battle Pass weapons are a great alternative to the signature weapons, and even outside of that, the other 6-star standard weapons and the 5-star weapons are great options to run. The shop that rotates 6-star weapons weekly for 2,480 arsenal tickets is a great way to collect 6-star weapons, and the weapons on rotations are actually very good. In fact, I've gotten a decent amount of my weapons just from that alone. So now, we talk about the losing multiple 50-50 scenario. That gives you more arsenal tickets and 6-star operators that are viable right now, and some P1s of those standard operators are actually very good as well. For example, Li Fang's P1 is actually really good because you are able to inflict physical susceptibility even if the enemy has 2 stacks of vulnerable. And if you know anything about the physical team, that makes your rotations significantly faster. And also, since you only pull when you have the guarantee, you also get the limited rate up character alongside that. The system is built around the 120 pull guarantee, and the game on average will reward you for that, even if you are unlucky. The only way for the game to punish you is if you mindlessly pull on the banners and going for pity rather than a guarantee. It feels bad for some, because they cannot do their usual building pity or pulling for pity mindset, and that is fine if you feel that way, but claiming the system is objectively bad is just wrong. Moving away from the gacha is the factory. It is the main selling point of Arknights Endfield, and it is tightly integrated into the gameplay. I like how important it is to the game as it fits the game's industrialist vibe, and it sets it apart from other gacha titles. It is also a huge time sink for people to get into, and it feels satisfying to establish it and then build things in the game. It is mandatory for progression, such as making gears and tacticals from the factory, building zipline routes and automatic guns for enemy farming, and it is one of the main ways of getting T-creds in the game that you can then use to spend on general game progression. There are many designs and methods of optimization that you can do, and it is satisfying to optimize your own factory. It can feel like a sandbox at times, and I think that's a great foundation for the future of the game. Yes, you can skip it using blueprints, but I'm going to ask you something. Why are you playing the game? Anyways though, the factory gameplay is relatively simple in comparison to other factory games such as Factorio, but it is still fun to try to automate your progression. The satisfaction of that is still very much present in Endfield, and I only want to see them further lean into this aspect of the game. Now for the combat. With Umbro Monument and the boss trimmed medals, they somehow made a simple combat mechanic interesting. It is simple, yes, but it does become more strategic, and you actually have to use your brain when tackling stages during the current endgame. It is not just a DPS check, and there are many team composition options to handle each encounter. Sure, on boss trim medals, you need to have enough damage to finish it on time, but if you're not paying attention to the boss and do proper planning, then you're just not getting the trim medal. Then on Umbro Monument, they shifted the meta to the point where defenders are getting the love they deserve. It's not just a mode where you're hitting a statue until it falls off. You're actively trying to outsmart your enemies and plan accordingly. Defenders shine because of the counterplays you can do via their healing, damage reduction, and parrying. Yes, those are actual things you consider when engaging with the stage. It's not just about who can make me deal the most damage and support bots. Even if you aren't using defenders, doing counterplays against the boss is still as important if you want to get that trimmed medal. So yes, I do actually like the game despite being harsh at it at times. When I criticize the game, I want to emphasize that I am doing it out of passion and because I genuinely want the game to be better. For context, I am a day 1 free-to-play player at the game. I have been playing the game for about a month now, and I have really enjoyed my time on it, to the point where I am considering getting the battle pass and becoming a low spender. But before I end this video, I want to talk about something important and how I want the Arknights Endfield community to be better than what I'm going to address right now. Now, we talk about the inherent bias and the gacha tribalism that some gacha game community hold. The reason why I mention this is because Endfield is currently the newest game on the block, and I do not want to see this behavior on any future game releases. I'll use WUWA as in my example here because I used to be a part of that community, and I have seen both the majority of the chill folks who would talk about, WUWA mechanics and why the game is so good, and those who would also talk about PGR alongside that. Shout out to the Kuro gamers watching this video, and the loud minority who would do comparing waves and their double standards. I want to make this point clear. All gacha games are predatory. There is no exception to this rule. So, I'm going to use my WUWA account, and the amount of 5 stars I have playing the game for about a month. I started playing it around Terraria banner, and I ended it at the end of the anniversary patch. Versus my Arknights Endfield account that I have been playing for about a month. Oh, looky here, I have more 6 stars in my Arknights Endfield account in both characters and weapons after playing for a month than I had playing in WUWA after like 2 months or something like that. Oh, look at how Arknights Endfield is spoiling me in comparison to middling waves. Except this is a fucking strawman argument. This is just me actively trying to make it seem like Wuwa's gacha system is worse than Endfield, when these systems fundamentally work differently from each other. I prefer the Arknights Endfield system just because I like my guarantees on my gacha, just like how I actually preferred Punishing Grey Raven's system over Wuthering Waves' system. You won't see the loud minority admit that they are just being disingenuous with their points when they compare Wuthering Waves to other games, and the point of this entire bit is that I'm calling out the obvious bias and how some of the community are actively ignoring the issues that their game has and instead externalize it as some sort of validation to make themselves feel better. And then we go to the inverse of this. Some people on Steam forums, I know, easy target, I know, you don't need to talk, you don't need to mention that. They are purposely trying to bait people into getting mad at them. See, look at this in the Wuthering Waves Steam forums. This isn't genuine criticism of Wuthering Waves. This is just another example of gacha tribalism. You see this in the gacha community, and they really are out here saying that my slot machine is better than yours, as if these companies actually give a single crap about them. I hope I have drilled how stupid this is on your head. So what's the conclusion here? Play the games you want to play, and gacha tribalism is as stupid as it sounds.